It's 6 p.m. Eastern. It's time for the Daily Wrap. And welcome to the show. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host and former Connect 4 champion. Who knew? Forbes columnist Rick Unger is here.
Let's Connect 4.
Also, she was one of Philadelphia's top attorneys and is rumored to be next in line to replace Judge Judy. Good for you,
right.
Heather
Yeah,
Hansen.
take that money.
You do want that one.
And welcome. And finally, we are honored to have best-selling author, founder of the World Values Network. He's America's Rabbi.
Also rumored to take over from Judge Judy. It's a bit of a competition.
Really? They
Well,
said
I
there
know.
was...
I don't think you should give it this away just yet.
I know just the entertainment.
This election has
lawyer
not yet
for
been
you both.
decided.
That's right.
There was a dark horse they mentioned, but I had no idea. This will be very interesting. Okay, let's get right to the Daily Download. Well, today in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, facing the biggest election of his career, looks like he's going to be keeping his position as Prime Minister, maybe. Fox News, CNN not calling this right now, but exit polls out of Israel seem to indicate that Netanyahu will hold on to power. We're going to take a look back at how this race was defined. Netanyahu's campaign centered around Iran's threat to Israel. The opposition claiming Netanyahu was just fear-mongering, but Bibi has clearly used and cleverly used the world stage to draw attention to the Israeli election while attacking the Obama administration over a pending deal with Iran. Here is the Israeli Prime Minister in front of Congress just a few weeks ago.
This deal has two major concessions. One, leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program. And two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. That's why this deal is so bad. It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb, it paves Iran's path to the bomb.
Now, this purported deal has two major concessions. One, leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program, and two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. That's why this deal is so bad. It doesn't block Iran's path ultimately to the bomb. It paves Iran's path to the bomb, as Mr. Netanyahu said. The race is drawn. A lot of attention here in the United States, including celebrities like Jon Voight.
President Obama does not love Israel. His whole agenda is to control Israel, and in this way he can be friends with all of Israel's enemies. He doesn't want Bibi Netanyahu to win this upcoming election. America has not been the same since his presidency. I beg everyone, all of you, to understand the truth. Those like Yitzhak Herzog, who believe that deal-making is the solution to what Israel faces, are as wrong as Neville Chamberlain believing he made a peace deal with Hitler.
Jon Voight, who never really was able to make peace with Angelina Jolie, I believe, but he knows of what he speaks in terms of foreign policy. Anyway, Netanyahu today accusing left-wing NGO of busing in Arab voters to try to oust him. At this point, we don't know if that strategy worked or not. As we said again, exit polls seem to indicate that Mr. Netanyahu will hold on to power. However, it's not being called yet by any of the major networks, including this one. And we probably won't know, at least until this evening, a more definitive tone, as Rick Unger has cautioned, and he'll talk about in a moment. Exit polls out of Israel can be a little more tricky than they are here in the United States. So let's start with America's Rabbi. Shumli, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, great to have you. And I like the tie, by the way. You're looking very Irish.
You know,
on this Israeli
I think it's
election day.
only the Jew on this set that remembered it was St. Patty's Day.
No, you're not.
Oh, there you
wanna-
go. You're rocking the green.
I was trying to be exclusive here.
And my aunt's grandfather was the chief rabbi of Dublin.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
good to know.
So there.
Well, I once had a French pint of Guinness in Dublin, so I think that counts. But I just want to thank the Irish for sharing the Israeli election on St. Patty's Day. I see that it's very magnanimous of them.
Oh, sure. Good relations between Dublin and Tel Aviv, as far as
Exactly.
I know. So if the results hold up as the exit polls show them to be, are you surprised that Netanyahu was able to hold on here?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, he is this international figure of global stature, and I think Israelis understand that amidst the need of focus on economic issues, paying the rent, affording bread and cottage cheese, that Israel does face these great genocidal existential threats. You have an Iran nuclear program looming. There's a deal about to be signed, probably by the end of this month. That's the deadline. I think Israelis understand they need someone who can draw world attention to Hezbollah in the north and Syria in the northeast and Hamas to the west, et cetera, et cetera. Having said all that, it's a very close election. And Netanyahu may have to go for a national unity government. I don't expect that to happen. But he'll have to have a much more broad-based coalition. And hopefully a lot of the rancor of this rambunctious election can diminish so that Israelis can be united again. The real victor today is the people of Israel. I mean, let's not cease to be astonished that a country facing all of these threats in the world's most tyrannical region, I mean, you got like ISIS 100 miles away, pulled off a democratic election with Jews and Arabs. That's extraordinary, and let's salute the majesty of Israeli democracy.
Heather.
Just talking about the rancor of this election, how do you think it's going to impact relationships between Obama and Netanyahu? I mean, it was already pretty bad, but some of the things that went on with this election, there's allegations that Obama somehow funded some of the trying to oust him. How do you think that will play for Bibi?
Well, let's not pretend for a moment that President Obama wanted Bibi to win this election. They don't like each other. They don't even fake it anymore.
Right.
But I think President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu are big boys. I think that they're mature adults. They understand the need to subordinate any kind of personal animus to affairs of state. Iran is as big a threat to the United States, the great Satan, as it is to Israel, the little Satan. They're going to be forced to work together. It doesn't make a difference anymore. If Netanyahu wins, the president will no doubt find some working relationship with him. By the way, let's remember that Yitzhak Herzog and Tzipi Livni are also opposed to the Iran deal. It was the one area where all three major prime ministerial candidates were in accord.
Rick, what do you think created this great divide between the President Obama
Well, I
and
think
Netanyahu ultimately? It just seems like it just kept building and building, but I never saw a starting point as to why it ever happened.
The rabbi's right. They don't like each other, but I think what's happened as this has moved along, we've now gone from personality disagreement to policy disagreement. And I think no small amount of this is the result of everybody constantly jumping the gun. We still don't know what the agreement that's going to be proposed, if any, will be with the Iranians. That's number one. Number two, you have John Voight there doing what everybody else does. Oh, Obama's so terrible, this and that. Will somebody please tell me what the alternative is other than no deal? Because no deal means that the Iranians continue to develop their weapon. I don't like that. Nobody does. So, this is all a lot. And even with the election, we don't even know yet where it's at. We're going on exit polls and people are declaring him the winner. It's crazy.
And that will have to be the last word on this topic, but I'm sure we'll be discussing it more, particularly tomorrow night when we hopefully have the official results on this breaking news. Coming up next, President Obama has someone to blame for ISIS. Wait till you hear who it is. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV.